Welcome to the Power and Light podcast. My name is Josiah Winnell, and I'm so excited to be here with you all today. It is episode 46 of this show that's been going on for longer than I can count on one finger. Preston Graber is alongside me today. Preston, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. Super excited to jump in. We've been waiting for this episode for a while, so I can't wait to see how it goes.
Preston just foreshadowed it, but we'll get to that in a second because there's another gentleman on the call today with me, and his name is Jude Miley. Jude, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good today, Josiah. I'm glad to be here with you.
I think everybody on the show got a nice, good workout in, so we're feeling good. We're ready to go. And Preston prefaced it with what he said. And yes, this is our annual NFL prediction episode for the season. Our predictions everywhere from the offensive player of the year to bold predictions to who we think will be in the Super Bowl. We're so excited to share our predictions this year. And if you look back at the last episode that we did this last year, some of the things that we said were complete not true. Complete idiocy, if that's a real word. But some of them did come true. And I think there might be some movement from last year to this year. Preston was really high on Anthony Richardson, and I think that maybe that's something he might bring up. We'll see. But I was really high on CJ Stroud, and that worked out. Now, I made a prediction that was really dumb. I can't name all of them because I really don't want to embarrass myself, but that's what this show is for, saying in a couple weeks who was right and forgetting what you were wrong about. So we're gonna start off this episode right off with our division winners. So today I've got Jude Miley on the AFC, Preston Graber on the NFC, and we're going to start with Jude in the AFC East. You got the Patriots, Bills, Dolphins, and Jets. Who are you taking as a division winner, Jude?
So I think for this division, the winner will be the Jets. And I like Aaron Rodgers, and I think he still has the arm that he's always had. And, we'll see what he can do with his legs. It might not work out, coming off a rough Achilles injury. But I just think the Jets have a complete team. And especially Garrett Wilson, he's got like a lot of potential to just be really special. I think with Aaron Rodgers kind of controlling that team, I think the Jets push to the top this season and win the AFC East.
Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets win the AFC East, and Jude Miley's futuristic predictions. All right, Preston, let's go to the NFC East. And who do you have in this division?
This is one of the hardest divisions, I think, to choose a winner. In the past, it's been called the NFC least, but I think it's hardly that anymore. There's really three contenders and one just not contender even. The Giants are just bad, so we just eliminate them automatically. But Commanders have a shot in the distance. Cowboys also have a shot, and Eagles also have a shot, but I think that this year, Jalen Hurts falls off a little, and Dak Prescott steps up with CeeDee Lamb and leads the Cowboys to an NFC East championship.
Oh my goodness. Dallas Cowboys having success? I mean, we've seen it in the regular season all the time. The question is, do they win the division, get the home game, and still lose in the playoffs? We'll talk about that later because that needs to happen first. But yeah, I agree the Dallas Cowboys have a very talented team. All right, Jude, back to you with the AFC North, one of the strongest divisions in football with the Steelers, Browns, Bengals, and the Baltimore Ravens. Who do you have in the AFC North?
So, you call it a strong division, and I would tend to agree with that, but I think there is a clear and obvious strongest team here, and that's the Ravens. I think Lamar has just more talent than the other, not necessarily more talent, but more abilities than the other quarterbacks, just what he can do with his legs and throw the ball. And I just think the Ravens, they're kind of salty this year, so I just think that they're going to make the push. And, they just won a championship, and I think that's going to put them through the regular season on top.
Okay, Jude with the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC North. Jude, I'm going to stay with you and go to the AFC South. Now, this is a division that is kind of polarizing in the sense of it's got a lot of talent, but not necessarily the wins to back it up. Who do you think wins this AFC South division?
Yeah, I think I just have to go with CJ Stroud and the Texans for this one. I like the Texans offense a lot, and I just think CJ Stroud, he's young, and I just think he has so much potential that with the guys that they've got this year at wide receiver, I just think that's almost unbeatable with just that much talent all on one offense. It just seems like the recipe for a ton of touchdowns.
And as we wrap up the AFC, Jude, is there consensus? Is it obvious who the champion of the AFC West is?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not saying the Chiefs for this one, I just don't know who you are. There's no reason Patrick Mahomes does not make a strong push for another Super Bowl and at the very least win the division. Like, that should be no question.
So, Preston, you just heard what Jude's analysis were of those four divisions in the AFC. What are your thoughts initially with those teams taking the I guess I don't want to even say trophy because it's not a trophy, but the crown in their certain division with the Jets, Ravens, Texans, and Chiefs remaining victorious?
I mean, I agree with Jude on Chiefs, obviously, and AFC East is going to be a toss-up. I mean, I could easily see a world in which Josh Allen leads them in the regular season or Tua. I struggle to see Aaron Rodgers doing that, but I don't know. I mean, personally, I have the Bills winning that division, even though everything in me wants to not have the Bills win that division. In the AFC North, yeah, Ravens is there. It's a solid pick. I'm a big Justin Fields believer, so I really hope it's the Steelers that can pull off even a second place finish. But yeah, Ravens, solid pick. And then the only thing that I like fully differ on from Jude is I have the Colts in the AFC South. Again, I'm high on Anthony Richardson. I'm high on the Colts franchise, and so I think they stuck really close with the Texans to start, and I like that, seeing that week one.
And Jude, I like your picks as well. The biggest thing for me is, I mean, I agree with most of them. I agree about the Bills pick just because they've been there and done that. But I'm scared where Josh Allen's going to throw the ball, and we'll see what the weeks, how they stack up for him, and see what he's able to do with the limited receivers that he's had after Stephon Diggs leaves. But I think the biggest thing, Jude, is I don't think we should scoff at the AFC North. All four of those teams can not only win the division, in my opinion, I also think that all four of those teams could make it to the AFC Championship because they all have so much talent. Now the question is, how much do they have against each other? And we're going to see what happens when they play each other head to head, because the Steelers, they've got the scary level of talent because they have a stud defense. If you don't already know this, the Pittsburgh Steelers, as per usual, are going to have a stud defense this year led by TJ Watt. It's nothing new, but they just showed it in week one. But after that, you've got a team that has injury history, but anytime that you have Joe Burrow and you've got Jamar Chase, I think you've got a solid shot. On the other side of it, the Cleveland Browns, okay, maybe this is the stretch here, but you get a healthy Nick Chubb in a couple weeks in the middle of October and an offensive line that was a stud offensive line last year. I think combining that with Myles Garrett on the defensive side, they would be the long shot to win it. They would be a very long shot to go to the AFC Championship, but I think they have a shot just because of their coaching and their defensive talent. They have the best defensive player right now in football. And then obviously there's not much to be said about the Ravens. I think that they definitely have holes. I think that they're not going to win very much because in the playoffs, in the near future with Lamar, just because of his style of play. But at the same time, they have a team built for the regular season, and they're going to win there. And I think that's why they're the favorite to win the division. So I just wanted to break that down because I believe the AFC North, I wouldn't say it's a prediction because it's pretty obvious, but it has a lot of talent, and they're very equal in some senses. All right, Preston, let's get to you. We already did the NFC East. It's time for the NFC North. Who do you think comes out of this division with all of the quarterback turnaround?
I think that the Detroit Lions come out of this division on top. The Packers are going to make a push, but I got to stick with my Lions.
That's a good prediction. Preston's been on them for a while, so let's not call him a bandwagon or anything like that. He is with those Lions, and I think that's a great pick. I think the Packers, though, and Jude, we'll get to you in a second, but I feel like the Packers might be there knocking on the door at least. NFC South, Preston, you've got the Bucks, the Panthers, Saints, and Falcons. This is kind of the division where it's a wild card, not necessarily in the sense of a good wild card like 2014 Kansas City Royals type wild card, but it's more of a, we have no idea really who's going to win, and whoever comes out of it, do they even really matter in the first round? That's my question to you. Do they matter, and who will that team be?
Well, so I think a lot will be told in week 2 as to, the real contender out of this, but I think there is a real contender. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a shot to make a difference come playoff time. I don't see the Falcons doing it. Bijan really hasn't found himself yet, found his role in the offense. So a lot of people were saying the Falcons before the season, but man, Baker Mayfield, I like Baker Mayfield leading the Buccaneers. He got put in a very good spot after coming from Cleveland and Los Angeles. So I'm going with the Buccaneers on.
And then the NFC West, home of the San Francisco 49ers, who represented the NFC last year in the Super Bowl and then lost to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. You've got them alongside the Rams, the Cardinals, and the Seattle Seahawks. Who do you have winning the NFC West?
Yeah, so the NFC West, it's been probably the strongest division for the last at least 2 or 3 years. Cardinals have been bad, but this is probably the hardest division in my opinion to choose. I don't like the Seahawks. I don't think they will make that big of a push, although they might sneak in as a wild card. I think it's between the Rams, Cardinals, and Niners. And I like the Cardinals a lot. I like them more as a sleeper team because I can't say they're going to win the division. So I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Rams to win this one. I think the Niners are battling too much right now.
Wow. Okay, that is not what I expected at all from you, Preston, but I appreciate the little switch up there because the obvious pick for most people is the 49ers because of the talent that they have in every position on the offensive side, but also so much talent on the defensive side. And they're the obvious selection because of what happened this last year. But I was just going to mention it. I love the Cardinals. At least, I know you didn't pick them, but the mention of them, because if we get first half Cardinals that we had against the Buffalo Bills, that team can be really good. Now, second half Cardinals, they can look like the Cardinals as of old, but Marvin Harrison Jr. only caught one pass for them. Why are they not throwing to him more? I don't know. That's probably something we addressed in meetings this week. And if he can get the ball, combination with your guy, and I'm just saying this now, your guy, Trey McBride, I feel like that offense is a solid offense. And I think that the defense has some room to improve. But honestly, I agree the Cardinals are kind of a dark horse to do really well in that NFC. All right, Jude, I'll get to you now. We had the Cowboys winning the NFC East alongside the Lions, the Bucks, and the Rams. Jude, thoughts on this, and maybe start in the NFC North where he has the Lions over the Packers.
Yeah, so, I have a couple of different thoughts about Preston's picks, but NFC North, the Lions are a good team. I'm not going to say that they're bad, but I just think the Packers are the better team. And while I think the Packers are the better team, I don't necessarily think they're going to win the division because who knows how long Jordan Love will be out. But I think come playoff time, the Packers are going to be, one of the best teams in the entire NFC, and I like them more than the Lions, to be honest, but maybe I'm a little biased.
What about the NFC West there? He has the Rams winning. Is that a surprise pick to you, or are you confident in McVay's coaching style, which has been incredible when he's in a good rhythm and he has a solid team?
Yeah, I'm not much of a Rams fan. But I would have picked the 49ers just because, tried and true. They've done it for several times in the past few years. So, I don't know. I would have picked the 49ers, but I do like Preston's take that there are some good teams in this division, and who knows what the Cardinals could do. Rams could make a push, and I would have just picked the 49ers just because it's the right pick in my mind.
There's a lot of talent in the NFL, both on the AFC and NFC side. It's exciting to see how tight these races will be. this year. It's a little bit easier for us as AFC West fans, as Kansas City Chiefs fans, on this show specifically, to kind of sit back and relax a little bit easier this year. Not saying that we're going to sweep the division, which is perfectly possible, but just realize that this division as a whole is not nearly as good as years past. We have a bunch of new quarterbacks in situations that are not necessarily the best. And so we'll see what happens, but I think the Chiefs, if they don't become complacent or even look at it in a poor way, or take anything for granted is probably the best way to say it, I think they're going to be fine in the AFC West. All right, it's time for some award predictions. Let's do our MVP predictions, starting with Preston Graber. Preston, who's your MVP, your season MVP for the National Football League?
Well, I thought not long and hard about this, but I really hope we all three have the same answer. Mine is going to be Patrick Mahomes taking home MVP.
Okay, very original answer, Preston. Can you just give us a little analysis on why you would select a guy who's won two already?
I think that the Chiefs put him in a position where he can be the best that there is in the league. They gave him dynamic playmakers. This is the first time we've seen him have this dynamic of an offense since honestly, probably his 2019 season there. And so I think that he is in the best position that he's been in a while. And it's really going to show, and he's to the prime of his career.
Okay, Jude Miley, another guy who has a couple MVP awards more recently, too, like Mahomes. You got Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. Are you considering taking him the way that it's been working out? I just want to throw it out there. But anyway, who is your MVP award winner this year?
I'm not going to take Aaron Rodgers. Maybe I'm making a mistake there, but I don't think I am. I want to say Mahomes, but I honestly don't think he's going to get picked again. I think Josh Allen is going to get it just because I see him just stacking up numbers. And whether or not he's the best quarterback in the NFL, I wouldn't say so. I'd say Mahomes is the best quarterback. But I think Josh Allen's going to stack up the numbers, and the people are going to pick him to win the MVP award.
Okay, Preston's grimacing. What's your thoughts on the Josh Allen pick?
I mean, it's fine. I can see how Jude would take that. He's the betting favorite right now for it. It's just, I think there has to be a fall off for him. I can't see Josh Allen continuing to be this dominant of a quarterback with the pieces surrounding him. He doesn't have any top receivers in the league. So, yeah, he'll continue rushing, but, that's rushing.
Yeah, I don't feel like Josh Allen is the guy that I think is going to break off this year. If anything, this is the year that he shouldn't win the MVP, and maybe that's what's motivating him. Maybe that's what Jude's thinking. Because honestly, I feel like, Josh Allen, like Preston said, is in a situation where he doesn't have the weapons he had before. And I wouldn't even say that it's similar to Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes lost his top weapon in Tyreek Hill, didn't have a lot of great options, and still had a lot of success. So, and has won an MVP since. So I feel like maybe, I think I'm spitting hypocrisy. All right, we just got to move on. Anyways, Josh Allen is the pick there. All right, I'll make my pick and then let you guys destroy me. I'm going to go with a AFC quarterback, but not the same AFC quarterback that either of you chose. And I'm going to go with the Houston Texans. Very excellent selection in C.J. Stroud. I feel like he's one of the best passers in the game, and I also believe that with these new weapons that he has, new weapon in Stephon Diggs, but just the fact that he has Tank Dell as well in that offense, man, that offense could be explosive on the passing side, providing him with the numbers he would need to win the most valuable player. Preston, thoughts on C.J. Stroud?
I mean, I think he's a solid pick. I wouldn't be surprised to see him finish top 5, top 8 in MVP voting, but I just can't see him taking it home unless he leads the Texans to an undefeated season and has 5,500 yards and a lot of touchdowns, which, hey, I don't know if you think he can do that or not, but it's just second year players. They've won it in the past, but I don't know. I think characteristic is kind of not there for him, which yeah, I don't know. It's not like my favorite pick in the world. I'll say that. Jude, what you got?
So, I mean, I'm kind of similar to you. I think CJ Stroud's going to put up a lot of numbers and he's going to do really well. But the reason I had Josh Allen over him was because a lot of people have seen Josh Allen. They see him as the guy who could take down the Chiefs. And there's a lot of people rooting for Josh Allen. And I just think that likability that he's had for a few years is going to make people sympathetic for voting him as an MVP just to give him an award.
So Jude's looking less at like the actual numbers and talent of a player, and correct me if you're wrong, or if I'm wrong. You're saying you're thinking more on the voters' side and selecting an MVP of who the voters are more familiar with and who they would select. Is that correct?
I mean, yeah, I think that's going to play a huge factor in it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a great perspective. I'm glad that you brought that in. Okay, so we have our MVP. We went with 3 AFC quarterbacks. Now let's do our Offensive Player of the Year and just look over the entire NFL. And I'm going to start us off. And this is one that I have a tie. And I know this is cheating, but I think it's a tie between Los Angeles Rams' Cooper Kupp and Breece Hall of the New York Jets. And here's what my thought process is. Cooper Kupp had an off year. He's a stud. And why is he a stud? Because Matthew Stafford throws him the ball all the time. He had 21 targets in week 1. Now, on the other side, again, this is cheating. You had a guy who I really need to do well in fantasy in Breece Hall. But I think he's just a solid runner. You can also catch passes. And all the K-State people who are listening are probably grimacing, as Preston was earlier in the show, because that Iowa State Cyclone is probably not who they want to see success in the NFL. All right, let's move on. Preston, analysis of that, and who is your Offensive Player of the Year?
Well, analysis of that is, Breece Hall is just a crazy pick in my opinion. He could go off. I hope for your fantasy team he goes off. Just last year, he was good, but he was good because he was the only form of offense they had. I didn't really like Breece Hall in fantasy drafts this year. I thought he was going to produce, but I didn't think he would produce at the rate that he did last year because they got a quarterback that could throw. They didn't have to dump it off to him every other play. I'm not a fan of that pick, but I am a big fan of your Cooper Kupp pick. I do like Cooper Kupp a lot, and I would have him finishing second in the running to CeeDee Lamb. So CeeDee Lamb is my pick because it's kind of an obvious pick. It's kind of boring, but Dallas just doesn't have anything else. And Dak did not put good numbers up week 1, but CD was my pick before week 1, so I'm going to stick with my pick because I don't want to be biased to what we saw.
Yeah, I was going off week 1 stats for mine, but that's what we wanted. We wanted a little taste of what the NFL looks like and just kind of look at CMC. Like maybe somebody would have selected him. Now he's injured week 1. That hurts his overall award impact for sure, just getting injured at all. Jude, who's your Offensive Player of the Year prediction?
So, I mean, I like what you guys have said, but I want to be a little bit different with my pick. So I'm going to choose Stephon Diggs from the Houston Texans. And the reason I choose Stephon is that CJ Stroud needs a guy, and Stephon Diggs is that guy. And so I think Stephon Diggs catches passes, runs into touchdowns, and that's all you got to know, right?
Preston, what's going on your side right now?
They've got Nico Collins and Tank Dell and Joe Mixon. There's no way anyone in that offense can win Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, they're all going to get fed the ball. They're not just going to give it to Diggs only. You got to find someone for Offensive Player of the Year that's the only weapon. But
okay, all right. I don't think he's bashing you, Jude. I think he's just bashing the pick. Okay, let's speed through Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to start us off and say, Myles Garrett is probably the obvious pick for me just because I think he's the best defensive player. But I mentioned it earlier. I think that this defense in Pittsburgh is incredible, and it's led by a guy who's been there, done that again. I'm thinking of guys who've won this award before. I'm going to go with T.J. Watt. Jude, who do you have for Defensive Player of the Year?
DPOY. I've got Trevon Diggs. Yeah, basic pick, maybe not. Depends on who you are, but I like him.
Okay, Preston.
I have TJ Watt as well with a sleeper of George Karlaftis.
Wow. Okay. All right. Okay. I want to hear your analysis of that, but maybe another time. Hopefully, we can break that down with the Chiefs game sometime where he like pulls in 6 sacks. Okay. Let's do Rookie of the Year. I don't care offensive or defensive. I'm not caring. This is a Power and Light podcast award. That would be fun. We could get out our awards at the end of the year. Who is the just Rookie of the Year, Preston Graber?
I am going to go with my gut and say Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders.
Okay, Jude.
I mean, Preston might have stolen my guy, but honestly, I have to go Jaden Daniels just because I think he's in a position where he can like be a guy who stands out, and so there's not a ton of rookies. You could say Marvin Harrison, but I'm a little bit off put by his week 1. I had him on my fantasy lineup, kind of made me sad, but yeah, I have to go Jaden Daniels.
Okay, unfortunately for the entertainment side of this, we have a clean sweep across the entire board. Yes, Jaden Daniels. Now, maybe we're just all completely we're all looking at his first week performance where he had 2 rushing touchdowns, a great performance for him, but yeah, I mean, I think he's a solid player even without that performance. And he's got a better situation than some of the other quarterbacks. And a quarterback is more likely to win. But I think we should do a award show at the end of the year. That would be great. That, just to be clear, that wasn't our prediction for like offensive rookie of the year, but I think he could win that for sure. All right, let's get into our bold predictions. One of my favorite moments of the year. We have some bold predictions. And we're going to kind of rapid fire these, but I want to get a reaction from at least one person on each of them. So, Preston Graber, kick us off with your first bold prediction.
My first bold prediction is of the guy we were just talking about, Jaden Daniels. I think he will rush for 1,000+ yards and pass for 3,000+ yards as well.
Hey, perfect. So I'm just going to follow yours up and say one of mine was Daniels sets a record for rookie rushing touchdowns. I have no idea what the actual rookie is. For quarterback, I have to say that. But I have no idea what the actual record is, but I just feel like he's in an offense that wants him to run the ball. Jude, any predictions about Daniels in your 3? And if not, what are your thoughts on those 2 predictions?
No, I don't have Jaden Daniels in my bold predictions, but I mean, I like where you guys are. I agree that he's going to do well this season. He's got a really good opportunity to break out and do well. So I do like your guys' picks.
Okay, Jude, you didn't have anything about Daniels, but can you share one of yours now?
This one is potentially controversial, and that's why it's bold. But I have the Bills missing the playoffs, and the reason, there's not a huge reason, except for the fact that I have the Jets doing better than them. But, you know, I just don't like Josh Allen as much as some of the other quarterbacks in the AFC.
Wait, can I go back to the part where you picked him for MVP?
Yeah, that's complete voter bias because he's gonna do enough to get numbers, and as long as his numbers are above average, boom, the voters will vote for him.
Boom. Okay, so it's all just lies in the voting room. Okay, Bills miss the playoffs, but Josh Allen wins MVP. Jude Miley, you heard it here first. Okay. Okay, I want to move into another playoff, I guess, oriented pick. I don't know if this is bold or not, but considering last year it is, not considering the history, but I have the Chiefs hosting yet another AFC championship. Preston, on a scale of 1 to 10, is this actually bold?
Like 10 being the most bold?
Yeah, for sure. Like, bold, like, as, you know, like, ghost pepper bold.
Negative 0.2 or something like that. It's
Okay,
not very bold.
right. Okay. Well, that just shows our confidence in our team. Okay. Sorry for my lackluster second one. Jude, can you give me your second bold prediction?
Now, my second bold prediction, might explain why the Bills missed the playoffs, but the reason is that Stephon Diggs goes top 3 in receiving all categories. And, that kind of goes with Offensive Player of the Year and stuff. But, why are the Bills doing bad? They gave away Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans, which is top 10 worst changes in the Bills franchise history.
Okay, I see where you're going here, Jude. You're just saying literally every team that the Bills pass up on or provide to another team just starts becoming insane. So we got Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy for the Chiefs, but now you're saying Stephon Diggs leaves the blue and now he's wearing that Houston Texans jersey. He's going to be insane. I like the pick, Jude. I like that for sure. That's a great bold prediction. All right, Preston, give us your number 2.
My number 2 is of your co-offensive player of the year, Cooper Kupp. I believe he will get 2,200 receiving yards.
What?
Yeah, so
Yes, that is extremely bold. Okay. Yeah, this is the bold prediction segment. I'm not gonna break that one down. All right, my final one. And see, the boldness of my guys on the show today has been incredible. I'm very impressed. I am not nearly as bold, and that's taking so much juice out of this. But I was going to say that the Bengals completely fall flat this year, and they end up with a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. Preston, thoughts?
I mean, top 5 might be stretching it a bit. I mean, Panthers. Like, I could name off 5 teams that will be above them, like, that are just atrocious. But I don't think top 10's out of the question. I don't think they're making the playoffs.
Okay, Preston, finish off your bold predictions with your third.
My last bold prediction, it goes with one that I've been chasing from the beginning of the season. So don't say this just because he became the starter. Justin Fields, I believe Justin Fields will have the best touchdown to interception ratio in the league. I took Fields in my fantasy draft in hopes that he would become the starter and knowing he would. And so my bold prediction is that he will lead the league in touchdown to interception ratio.
Okay. Touchdown to interception ratio. I mean, he could throw 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and probably still win that category. But I like the prediction.
Exactly.
And after what you've said a couple things about Fields, I'm considering picking him up as well. All right, Jude, send us out with our final bold prediction.
Yeah, and all right, so let's say a little over a year ago, the draft, and there are some guys that I was like very adamant towards, specifically Bryce Young, for the Carolina Panthers, and this bold prediction is kind of a change in heart of me, and I think Bryce Young will get benched partway through the season.
Attaboy! Let's go!
Wow.
Here you go, Jude.
Wow. Okay, so around draft time last year, if you don't already know, we all kind of picked our own quarterback, not like we selected him, but Preston's really high on AR, which is not necessarily a bad pick. We haven't seen what he can do. Jude was really high on Bryce. I think at one time said 6 or 7 Lombardis. I was high on Stroud. But Jude, from 6 to 7, franchise Hall of Fame level quarterback to benched in his second season. That is a great prediction, and I love it. All right, our final predictions of the day are Super Bowl matchups. And you know what, guys? I think we should keep the people waiting. I don't think we should provide scores. Or even our champion. Well, no, that's dumb. We need to hear our champion. Preston's shaking his head. I need to hear your thoughts on this. I have our matchup, but should we decide who wins yet?
I think we gotta figure out who wins, because otherwise it's kind of like we waited till, like, when we release it otherwise. I mean, maybe if we release it next week, but get it out at the very beginning of the season. That's what Super Bowl predictions are.
That's right. That way we can go back to it and say we actually predicted it, and then we act super smart and say, oh yeah, I was right. And then we delete the episode if we were wrong. Okay. Let's get into it, and I'll start off with my very boring pick, and I'm going to say Super Bowl rematch of last year with Chiefs and 49ers. I actually really like the 49ers. I think they have a solid team if they're healthy. There was a little bit of drama there, but they have such a sound team, and they're hungry. See, this is where it gets hard, guys, because I think the Chiefs can get there, but I almost want to pick the 49ers. And you know what? I will pick the 49ers to win the first 3 quarters of the Super Bowl, but Patrick Mahomes will come back in the 4th, and he'll win his 3rd straight ring. All right. Preston, you give yours now.
And you had me going there for a second. I thought you were going to say that it wasn't the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but I'm glad you had the Chiefs there. No, I'm not going to have the Niners going back. I'm going for my two teams, Lions and Chiefs, with the Chiefs taking the crown.
Okay, Jude, anybody new on the AFC side, or are we sticking with the old Kansas City boys?
Yeah, I mean, I have to go with the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I had a pretty similar idea as Preston, but for me, I got the Packers in the Super Bowl, and I think the Chiefs are going to win it. If I see a Chiefs-Packers Super Bowl in my lifetime, I will just feel good, and I will never feel like I need to watch another football game again, because that would be the greatest game I ever watched.
I still remember the run where the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl against the Niners. I still remember the Niners beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in the NFC Championship. But before that happened, everybody was saying we won a State Farm Super Bowl. And that's how close we were having Chiefs-Packers. I think people have predicted that for years, and it just hasn't happened yet. But I agree, that would be a good Super Bowl because those corners in Green Bay are insane. They have a solid secondary. And we'll see what the rest of their team looks like throughout the rest of the year. Our predictions today were incredible from Preston and Jude. Thank you so much. Thank you for your boldness. We predicted MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, divisions, Super Bowl, everything. It was incredible, and it was an awesome time. Thank you so much for listening. If you are still listening, and I think I know why, per usual, why you're listening, that's because Jude Miley is about to give us his quote of the day. So, Jude, send us out with your quote of the day.
The quote of the day is by a Greek philosopher, and I don't know how exactly to say this, but it looks like Heraclitus, and the quote is, "There's nothing permanent except change."